Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, run for the latest UKV, have the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. We do have some thunderstorms around at the moment, but those are going to clear away overnight, and we're in for a pretty dry Thursday, but things are all changing on Friday and Saturday as we do start to see the westerly winds fully unlock. For the first time in many weeks, we are going to see a very unsettled end to the month with lots of heavy rain, very variable temperatures, plenty of cloud and variable winds as well. Could be pretty gusty, especially in the north and west. Now, progressively into the final couple of days of May and start of June, we are seeing some tentative signs of higher pressure building back in across parts of northern Europe. Now, at the moment, we don't expect it to dominate the UK, but we expect to be on the periphery of that. What that means is there could be some varying drier conditions for the south and the east, but also some very warm conditions as it would encourage southerly winds. The combination between that and a stronger jet stream could exacerbate the unsettled conditions in places. We'd see some increased moisture, increased warmth pushing into the instability. And we could see a very thundery start to June, perhaps some longer spells of heavy rain as well. Some tentative signs of perhaps some summery conditions for start June, but also the positive summery conditions, sun, warmth, but also the downside, some explosivity, some thunderstorms, some very heavy spells of rain. So we'll explore that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. Now, to start on the live radar, we did see some persistent rain this morning in the far south. It was pretty much as forecasted in the end, and it did clear by around mid-morning. We did see a good few millimetres in places. It wasn't terribly heavy, but enough to give good water to the ground. Of course, many areas have not seen precipitation at all, really, during May or even go back to April. So it was a good thing to see there, especially falling overnight, so not too much disruption there. Through the afternoon, though, we have seen thunderstorms developing pretty much M4 line southwards, and again, you can still see these occurring this evening. According to this, around 6 p.m, so a few of these still rumbling away, but we do expect them to clear in the next few hours. Now, further northwards, it's been a dry day, and you can see temperatures today really been peaking across parts of the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, up towards northwest England, away from any easterly breezes that you can see across the North Sea coasts, and from the cooler conditions in the south, where we have got that increased cloud and, of course, the rain during this morning. Temperatures, though, are going to be on a downwards trend over the coming days as the wind shifts to westerly, and that transition starts tomorrow. Now, I've just put on the past 24-hour precipitation just to see how much rain we've seen in those southern areas. You can see quite a lot of persistent rain there. Again, most areas seeing a couple of millimetres. A few areas seeing more than that, where we have seen those thunderstorms this afternoon. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV, you can see all of that rain clearing away during the morning, and this afternoon those thunderstorms breaking out, but now clearing away. As we progress into Thursday, there could be a bits and bobs of rain in the morning across the far east, but really it's a dry day, lots of sunshine developing, a few odd showers potentially there. But overnight Thursday into Friday, the wind direction shifts and we go to a westerly. So initially through Friday, it's dry, it perhaps could be sunny, but you could see the shift has arrived. The change in weather pattern as westerly winds emerge, and through Friday night into Saturday morning, heavy rain, thick cloud and stronger winds move in and just sets the tone for the rest of the weekend. Longer spells of rain, plenty of showers, sprinkled in with a bit of sunshine and blue skies, but definitely a much more unsettled trend there through the weekend. If you look at the upper air temperature, you can see they're varying massively over the coming days. A warm front moves through on Saturday, followed by cold air there into Sunday. That's why we're expecting very up and down temperatures over the coming days. Now, this afternoon, temperatures were widely around the high teens or even low 20s, again, primarily where we've seen the sunshine. Into Thursday, again, where we avoid the cloud, high teens, but with the cloud and a little bit of rain, perhaps mid-teens. Into Friday, though, with that change starting to appear, still 19 or 20 degrees ahead of the weather front. But once that rain and cloud moves through, you can see into Saturday it might be a bit of a muggy feel with the warm air aloft, but surface temperatures more towards the mid-teens, and Sunday you can see temperatures dropping as well for the north and west, down towards low teens, maybe even high single digits. Southeast still holding on to some sunnier and warmer weather ahead of those weather fronts. So yes, conditions deteriorating quite significantly over the coming days. It's not going to be horrible everywhere all the time, but we are going to see a fair share of heavy rain, strong winds, and very variable temperatures. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, you see the pattern change coming up. The winds swing to a westerly over the next few hours, and we see this strong northwesterly wind there dominating into early next week. Into the final couple of days of the month, though, you can see the high pressure building in a little bit across Europe, and what that will do is encourage more of a southerly or southwesterly flow, still unsettled, but what it would do is potentially shift warmer air our way. And we can see that on the latest upper air temperatures. Very warm air, very close by across much of northern Europe. If we put on the upper air temperature deviation, you can see above average for much of Europe there. And if we tap into that with the combination of the unsettled conditions, then we could be in for some very heavy rain. And if we do zoom in, you can see lots of heavy or even thundery showers developing in this sort of scenario. If we actually look at the Cape, you can see quite high levels of Cape there into early June, pretty symbolic of big thunderstorm outbreaks, and you can see the accumulated precipitation is looking pretty high as well. Most areas seeing at least 1 inch to 2 of rain, some seeing a lot more than that, mainly in the north and the west. Now, if you compare to the GM, it's broadly very similar this afternoon into the evening. You can see again northwesterly winds arriving through the weekend, and eventually very similar to the GFS, high pressure moving in. Now, it's got a bit more influence here, which could mean we see more dry conditions, or at least the division between the rain and the dry conditions is further northwards. But look at this big wedge of warmth to our south. Again, on that boundary, there could be some very heavy rain. You can see here, though, fortunately, that dividing line is further northwards, maybe even clearing northern Scotland. So the GM is probably the best run this evening, with the rain dominating at least the next week, potentially clearing to our north later on into the final day of May. So we'll have to wait and see. But a very similar pattern, just that high being a bit stronger from the GM today. And finally, if we compare to the ECMWF, again, those northwesterly winds blasting in off the Atlantic, and very similar to the other runs, a strong westerly flow, but a strengthening European high. Lots of very warm air close by, and we tap into it at times, and that, as I said, could bring our fair share of heavy showers and thunderstorms. If we put on the precipitation, you can see lots of heavy rain pushing in from the west. It probably is a little bit exacerbated here, but nonetheless, you can see the gist here if we zoom in. Lots of heavy, thundery showers pushing in. A pretty abysmal pattern there to start June. Again, all fueled by the unsettled lower pressure out in the Atlantic, the very warm air just across Europe. That combination is going to give some really horrible conditions across our shores. But you can see the GM has that boundary a few hundred miles further northwards, and if that did occur, then a lot more of us would just be in the warm, dry, humid air, wouldn't be within rain and thunderstorm sort of range. So again, all to play for. But yeah, definitely could be some very interesting patterns there into early June. If you finish by looking at the ensembles, very up and down over the next week. Again, that's expected with this westerly flow. Again, the rain is focused further north to westwards, but plenty of rain still in London. You can see longer range, though, more above average upper air temperatures. That's symbolic of that potentially southerly or southeasterly flow, that increased European high. You can see not quite as frequent precipitation spikes, but there are some big ones here. Again, that's what we'd expect, some big convection events or big significant weather fronts at times with that added moisture. Sea level pressure dropping and then slowly rising, potentially into the longer range, but not really getting to anything particularly high, and that is because, of course, it's always coming up against that westerly flow that's trying to break it down. If we look at the 2 meter temperatures as well, upwards trend, poor over the next week, mid-teens, but upwards trend there into early June. Again, that's symbolic of that warmer air from Europe trying to push in. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, broadly very similar. Next week, up and down, high precipitation, and then big spikes, some huge spikes there from some of the ensemble members, producing multiple inches of rain in a 6-hour period there. Warmer air masses, all potentially indicating there could be some fireworks as we do head into early June. Potentially very warm or even hot temperatures if we got to the 50-degree isotherm, but also instability, big thunderstorms and some heavy rain in places. So it could be a classic summary pattern there to start June. Explosive days at times. We'll have to wait and see, but it is on a very fine line. Where does that boundary between the warm, hot, high pressure sit and the cooler Atlantic flows? Wherever that sits, there could be, as I said, a lot of action as we head into early June. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.